So I will be doing my review on the song Get Back by the Beatles. This drawing in the center, I centered it around the peace symbol because that's something that this band really stood on and probably why they were so iconic at the time. So many people, such a broad audience was drawn to their music because they made music that was very different, very experimental, and it was centered around themes of peace, acceptance, individuality, and that was something that at the time was a really new concept for these people. And this is Ringo Starr's peace sign, so if you recognize that. Themes of this song, I want to open up with a quote that really helped me through my thinking when I was dissecting the lyrics of this song. So the quote is, "In order to observe irregularities, you must look at them through something regular." And that's a quote by Alan Watts. And I believe that this is a good way to start in interpreting this song because the overall message of this song is the search for belonging. Now, through the lyrics, I broke it apart into 3 different types of belonging. So first, there would be sexual belonging, physical belonging, and social belonging. I decided to do a visual take. Art is a great example of something that I would at least consider irregular, an irregular concept or construct. People create art for all different motivations and purposes, but there are obviously like art critics, famous art pieces, but when you look at the truth of it, there's no way to measure or grade art. It's all up to interpretation, and it's something that one type of art could appeal to a certain group and it could be completely different in other groups, and that's one reason that every culture has very different type of art, different artistic influences, styles, mediums, and they all work differently, but no one can say one piece of art is superior to the other. And when you look at a piece of art, what does it make you feel? It's just like any emotion, like it's irregular, and it's just the same with the emotion of belonging, just as the song conveys. So starting with sexual orientation, you can see my visual here is a ruler, and it says the word confidence. And I think it's very difficult, especially in this society, for people to understand sexual belonging or find sexual belonging, as it is one of those things where the idea is placed into people's minds from all different, like just flooding from all different perspectives. You have the media, you have religious opinions of what is right and wrong sexually, sexual orientation, and not just sexual orientation, but gender roles as a society, why women feel forced often to play certain parts. Many men are uncomfortable like expressing emotion just because they have been pushed into a stereotype. Let me just start with a quote from the song that I chose to examine. So there's the line, "Sweet Loretta Martin thought she was a woman, but she was another man. All the girls around her say she's got it coming, but she gets on well she can." So perhaps this character that they developed to represent this theme, Loretta Martin, it doesn't have to necessarily mean that she was one sexual orientation or another, but it's very clear that those around her were showing disapproval, perhaps for her actions or what she was drawn to. And the truth of it is that she actually felt more belonging than those around her. But because she never sought after an image or a specific model of what she considered a sense of belonging. Her sense of belonging maybe made her stand out and maybe made other people look down on her, but it's pretty clear that she was more confident with that aspect of herself than those around her, as the girls were there talking down on her or judging her. And judgment, I think, is a very clear sign of insecurity. So next, I would like to move on to physical belonging. Moving on, next up, physical belonging. Physical belonging is something that a lot of people misinterpret as an environment or their surroundings. People want, they think a more expensive house will make them feel more secure. However, that's obviously not proven. You can see many times the actual distress and uncomfort of people in higher incomes. It's just as common to find these mental health issues because it can't be it can't be measured through money or even location. So in the song it states, Jojo left his home in Tucson, Arizona for some California grass, and continues to go on, get back to where you once belonged. Get back, Jojo. I think this line represents someone who was maybe under the misconception that they needed a change of scenery in order to find that feeling of belonging. However, probably along the way, many people realize that physical traits and characteristics, it's usually not what will bring you a feeling of satisfaction. Instead, most likely, there was a sense of discovery through taking that initiative to step out of his comfort zone, go away from something that he had maybe known for a long time. My example. So growing up as a child, I was born, raised, same house, my childhood home for a long time. Those things around me, I tried to feel at home, but the more I realized about myself and the more I was able to express myself, I realized there's actually a sense of, not unrest, I'd say, in my own house, but I was still searching for something that would make me feel more at home. So the reason I used a rat as my visual is because something that really stands out to me as a defining moment for my own sense of physical belonging is I was really interested in school and learning. I was a very eager learner. But in middle school, I actually had a class where the teacher had pet rats, and that was the class pet. And school is something that, for me, growing up, I'm really social. I try to make a lot of friends, but never really fit in with one specific group, A lot of times, it's very true that groups are divided into these, subcategories of what you might say, cliques. Maybe if you're really athletic, you get to hang around the athletic kids. Maybe if you are really interested in, I don't know, math, chess club, all these clubs, but although they might share an interest, it's not as effective to only surround yourself with people based off of interests. So for me, I remember I actually became really close with this teacher, more so than many of the kids that I considered my friends, because I was just very attentive in that class, and I felt very at home because I was able to just focus on my intellectual interests instead of trying to portray a certain image, certain way to fit in. And these rats, the reason why I really like focus on the rats is because like it really helped me to like take a step back away from what those around me should see me as. And that was one of the things that helped me realize which passion I wanted to pursue, because I was always like really interested in animals, but just being around these animals, like that calming sense, like I would just hang out in that room at lunch, hold the rats, like I know it probably was weird to other kids, but it was very calming to me, and I realized that I wanted to somehow find a way to tie that sense of belonging into my future career. And ever since that, I have been very set on doing something related to environmental conservation. So it just really clicked and understood. And it was something that took me a long time to realize that I couldn't find it just by forcing myself into a group. Like, unfortunately, even within these groups, you always find good people, but there is also almost always a division between these people. Just some kind of like judgment, expectation, standard that is not truly a sense of belonging. And that segues into my final visual. This is a drawing of a SpongeBob tie. And what this is meant to represent the social sense of belonging. So the quote I used for this was, "Jojo was a man who thought he was a loner, but he knew it couldn't last." So a lot of people growing up, even myself, have a sense of social anxiety, and perhaps they isolate themselves, but not necessarily because of they have true belonging with themselves. Yes, it's true that a lot of people are introverted and enjoy just spending time with themselves, but it is a physical need. Intimacy is a physical need for our mental health, and it's instinctual. We're tribal animals from the beginning. So there's a lot of people who try to hold themselves back, I guess you could say, from exposing themselves to these social vulnerability because there is so much judgment. However, it's a lot more rewarding to just get away from that. False security is never the answer. Just as this man thought he was a loner but knew it couldn't last, he may have felt safe in a sense staying by himself, but he knew eventually the tides would have to turn, and maybe he found someone or something that understood him on a different level, and he grew way more comfortable with them and realized that we often do convince ourselves that we are a certain thing. For example, I really convinced myself for a long time that I would never be a swimmer because I was very uncomfortable with the idea of swimming. I just would always feel exposed, uncomfortable, so I just told myself, oh, I'm a bad swimmer. But that actually mentally blocked me from challenging myself. And so when I finally got over that hurdle, that insecurity, and tried swimming for myself, I actually learned that it was something that I did enjoy. It became a hobby because it was something I could challenge myself with, and I was no longer scared of it. So that was a little long-winded, but the reason for the SpongeBob tie on this visual is I was also in a church group when I was younger, and I met my very good friend Anthony in this church group, and a memory that really stood out to me is the first day that we went to this church group. I was very optimistic because, you'd think, just based off of like media and the connotation of churches, just it's supposed to be a very like non-judgmental place. The Bible preaches on acceptance, all this. However, upon getting there, I felt that same like tense, uncomfortable feeling, and I instantly noticed these cliques forming, and I didn't know where to place myself. And on that same day, my good friend Anthony, he showed up with a SpongeBob tie, and I just remember everyone in that class making fun of him. And I didn't think a lot of it at the time. I didn't realize that we would develop into such good friends, but I thought the complete opposite. I was not like put back by this tie. I was actually intrigued by it. I was very happy with his like open personality, his fun. He just wasn't very worried about image, as a lot of these young kids were, and many young kids today in every setting are. They're just very set on setting a certain type of image to set in, buying, like, whether it's the clothes they want to wear, or anything like that. It's coming from the wrong place. And me and Anthony definitely didn't get along with a lot of kids in that group. I mean, you could say we got along with them, but none of those people really developed deeper friendships, just because there was no sense of that social belonging. So once again, social belonging is often found in the last place you would expect to look. It can't be forced. It's more that great sense of just letting go and no longer letting an anxiety or a fear or a incorrect type of motivation control you, and instead just going out, doing the best that what you feel is right, and that's where you will find that sense of belonging. So that pretty much sums up Get Back by the Beatles.